well, this is just an anomaly. Maybe we don't have an answer, but Earth is still old. No. Detectable levels of C14 have been consistently found in samples taken from every level of the geologic column. Pay close attention to that. Every level of the geologic column, from coal to diamonds, because remember, diamonds are said to be the oldest or the hardest substance on Earth, formed billions of years ago. The Earth is only, according to them, 4.6 billion years old. The readings are remarkably uniform. So this uniformity is key. That suggests it's not contamination, or else the numbers would be all over the place. It's uniform and it's consistent because the Earth is young. The C14 is there because the Earth is not billions of years old, because if it was, the C14 would have decayed away. This pattern is far more consistent with a young age for the carbon in these materials than with random contamination or in situ production. The background noise argument. Oh, we've heard this over and over again. When we say that a sample's C14 measurement is above background, that means the detected C14 activity is significantly higher than the known noise level of the equipment. Therefore, it's not just instrumental noise, it's a real measurable signal. Guys, this is a real signal. It's not artificial, it's not noise, and this is a major problem. Why? Well, because the C14 levels detected in these samples are well above the instrument's background noise, meaning they represent a real measurable signal and not experimental error. Here's a conclusion. C14 is present in all these samples because why? The materials themselves are not millions of years old, they're thousands. Why do we have comets, even though they can only last, these short period comets, less than 10,000 years? Because the universe is less than 10,000 years old. Why is there such massive discrepancies and discontinuities in the genetics between humans and chimps? It's because humans and chimps aren't related. Why does the Bible, the birth certificate of the universe, tell us that Adam and Eve were the first two people? The Earth is roughly 6,000 to 7,000 years old. That's because it's true. The Bible claims to be the history book of the universe, and as we can tell from all of this data, the science actually confirms and complements what the Bible tells us about our origins and the creation event. Diamonds contain real C14 up to 310 times above detection limits. Powerful evidence they're young, not ancient. I dare a single critic to try and refute this. Notice this, right from the secular radiocarbon literature. You don't even have to trust us. Go to the literature, go look at the dates, go look at the material, and go see that they're finding C14. Here's 10 coal samples. The rate team, they analyzed 10 coal samples and they found C14 in all of this coal. Here's diamonds. Rate, C14. It's just incredible that the rate team, a group of young Earth creationist scientists, they made these predictions, as in we should find evidence for a young Earth, and that's exactly what we found. Now, a lot of critics, they'll dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge this evidence. And they'll say, well, if there was a global flood, and Matt's going to start touching on that very soon, we're coming close to the hour mark. If there is a global flood, these catastrophic processes, remember, we find massive stretches of sedimentary rock layers that extend over entire continents and even further. And they're a creationist geologist. I have a creationist geologist, Dr. Tim Clary's coming on the channel next month. He's had an active research project where he's been correlating these mega sequences on different continents on the planet, and he's correlating them from one continent to the next, showing that they all had to have been laid down quickly, rapidly, catastrophically in a single year. Because your old earthers, they'll say, well, these sedimentary rock layers, they would have been laid down through local floods during different times in the Earth's billions of years history. No, that doesn't work, because we're now correlating these sequences worldwide, showing that these worldwide mega sequences also had to have been laid down at roughly the same time and not millions of years apart. Isn't that incredible? And then in these sequences, we find billions to trillions of fossils that require rapid burial. We find fossils of fish being eaten, fish giving birth. I'm sorry, it doesn't take millions of years to finish a meal. It doesn't take millions of years to give birth. I think they even find fossils of fish throwing up. And they're fossilized in the middle of throwing up their dinner, where you can see the throw up and then the fish. I mean, wow. So anyways, they'll say, well, all these catastrophic processes would release too much heat and energy. This is called the heat problem. You'll see critics all the time. What about the heat problem? Have you solved the heat problem yet? Well, yes, we have. Matt and I, we've run the numbers, we've modeled it out, and any kind of heat that's generated from the flood can easily be taken down into the core of the earth. The core is incredibly hot. Probably wasn't quite as hot in the pre-flood world. It was heat up a little bit more from the heat during the flood. But you'll find a lot of old earthers, they'll say, oh, there's just no way that the young earth creationist can explain all the coal and oil that we find on the earth, because to produce all that coal and oil would take millions of years. But here's the thing, in the lab, we've rapidly produced coal and oil in real time using a lot of heat and pressure. Well, wait a minute, the catastrophic global Genesis flood would have composed a lot of heat, pressure, and energy to rapidly form all the coal and oil, which means a lot of this heat produced at the flood is actually a feature and not a bug. That heat can get the plates moving, catastrophic plate tectonics. You need catastrophic plate tectonics rather than the snail-paced movements of the plates that uniformitarian or actualist scientists believe in to rapidly buckle the rock strata to uplift these mountains in the first place, okay? We also find, testable prediction, these massive slabs of cool rock deep within the earth. Well, if those were taken there millions of years ago, or over millions of years of plate tectonics, those cool slabs, cold slabs, would have either melted or assimilated in temperature to the surrounding material. The fact that we find these massive slabs of cool rock deep within the earth tells us that they were just taken down there thousands of years ago and not millions of years ago. That's why they haven't warmed up or melted. And that's a direct expectation if at the flood, you have the fountains of the Great Deep break open, which release a lot of chemicals to rapidly produce limestone, okay? And then these plates begin to move. They're lubricated because a lot of that water coming up would lubricate these plates. And they're moving around quickly, so you get rapid subduction. You have plates coming at each other, and then one plate goes underneath another. And so that's taken down, okay? That's taken down, and it's still going down. And we actually find those today, and they're still relatively cool, which is confirmation of the global flood. And a lot of that heat could actually be taken down through that process into the mantle. So it's not a capacity problem. Earth isn't a sealed oven, it has plumbing. It's a throughput problem. How can we get this heat and energy into the mantle and into the core? Well, we can do it through rapid subduction and downwelling. It affects energy into the mantle and core. It's got a colossal heat capacity. I've run all the numbers through AI. I've run them like 20 different ways. I've included all of the so-called sources of heat. And every time I run them, the numbers come back. We got more than enough room in the mantle, in the core. You'd have miles and miles of water on the earth that would be absorbing or taking up a lot of that heat. Again, the rapid production of coal and oil. The pre-flood world being 95% lush and green would basically act as the perfect battery to absorb a lot of this heat produced during the flood. And then you'd have these supersonic steam jets that would actually take a lot of heat into what? Space. What a great heat sink. Take a lot of that heat into space. And so, here's a numbers snapshot. You can look at deep interior absorbs this amount, the mantle, the core. And so bottom line, there's no heat problem. So next time you hear an evolutionist or an old earther say, oh, what about the heat problem? Young earth creation is false because of the heat problem. No. Bottom line, move it, vent it, use it. The Boil the Oceans claim, for example, assumes heat stays trapped at the surface, but it actually doesn't. Okay, so the next part of wow, that was fun. A lot of information there, guys. The next part of the presentation will be hominins, the Australopithecines. One commenter about an hour ago mentioned Lucy. So we're going to debunk that, but we're going to do that after Matt's hour. Wow. So
William Albrecht, I'm convinced, is a gorilla. I think you got the missing link, so I don't know.
I told William to send me a selfie so I could. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know, brother. I think he makes a good case. Maybe we did evolve from gorillas and apes because he looks like a talking ape.
You know, he does bench press about as much as a gorilla. And have you seen those reels where the gorillas are going at it? And they're like, zookeeper, help. And he's like, what am I supposed to do?
And he eats as much as, these whales do, but that's another comment. But yeah, I'll follow you. By the way, someone asked you, would you have a discussion with, I know he's been made famous by William Lane Craig. Josh Samidas is his name. You know that guy?
Yes. He's a theistic evolutionist.
Would you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. I've actually put out several response videos to him and articles. I would most definitely have a debate with him. Yeah, 100%.
Thank Jesus Christ, my Lord. He changed my views of old earth creationism. I'm a young earther, and thank God for you guys. You have only made me stronger to trust the Bible. It's young earth all the way. So thank God for you guys, man. Pray we finish the race just forever. Now that handsome dude, that former UFC fighter, is next, huh?
That's right. Now, Sam, would you say a lot of what I said, like the C14 in diamonds, the comets, the testable predictions, did a lot of that make sense as to why the young earth model can account for it better than the old earth?
Yeah, you broke up, but I got what you were saying. In fact, I was going to ask you that. So according to them, we should not expect carbon-14 in diamonds if they're more than 1 million years old, right?
Right. That's right.
And yet we still find carbon-14 because you were generous. You said 500,000, but you would give them 1 million. So if something is over 1 million years old, there wouldn't be carbon-14.
Exactly. And the same thing goes with coal, with diamonds, of course, with fossils. I mean, we find in dinosaur fossils C14. For example, you can see here with the African diamonds. And you see how it's a nice, easy test, Sam? Earth is old. Okay, C14 decays away so quickly. It's got a half-life of about 5,600 years. Then we shouldn't find C14 in any sample over 1 million years. And like you pointed out, yeah, it's more like 500,000 because it decays so quickly, but give them 1 million. I mean, let's be generous to the evolution.
You're a good guy like that. I'll give him 1 million.
Yeah, you can even give him 10 million because these diamonds are billions. And so, yeah, easy test. Do we find C14 and do we find a lot of it deep within the earth? Or we don't? Now, if we didn't find it, I'll say, Sam, if we didn't find this C14, this would be problematic for our position. We'd have to work around it. Like, okay, well, how come there's no C14? That is kind of odd. But the fact that we find so much C14 everywhere we look, in every single sample in the geologic column, that's incredible. It's like God gave us this evidence to what? Strengthen our faith and know that his word is true.
Hallelujah. That's why you're seeing the reaction of the people. They're shocked, blown away. And I'm going to ask you one question, and I'll let you take your time, no rush. One more question then. Since these facts are undeniable, and guys, I want you to hear what he said. They're not getting it from young earth creation literature. Over 90% of their arguments, even when they quote a creationist, they'll also supplement it with literature from evolutionists. These are facts from their literature, evolutionists. Since they know these are facts, why the hell do they still want to fight for evolution? If it's not demonic, I don't know what is.
Amen. I mean, they're fighting with their own side. That's why I kicked it off with the Y chromosome and showing that the Y chromosomes of humans and chimpanzees are nothing alike. But I did not once, as far as I know, I'll say 99%, just so I'm not too universal. But for the most part, I'm quoting directly from their own papers, from their own literature. I'm quoting them that are saying they don't have an ancestral Y chromosome sequence. They haven't modeled it out. This is from them. So when these evolutionists on YouTube want to complain, don't complain to me. Go do the work and answer the challenge, because we're sitting here as creationists sipping on our coffee and we're loving life. We're not related to chimps. That's what the data suggests.
Amen. Amen. Glory to Jesus Christ. We made the right decision, folks, to trust the Bible and go young earth. Glory to Jesus Christ. Christ will always be vindicated because he is God, he is truth, and creation is his creation. The Bible's his word. Facts cannot contradict the Bible. So, muscles from Brussels, UFC killer, I'm following you now. Put up what you want to put up.
Whew, I'm sweating. So Matt, there you go. Your hour is up, brother.
Oh man.
Blow our minds. I think I gotta exit. So let me see. Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. Get this ready.
I'm excited.
Right.
So I want to set the foundation. Okay, Sam, you're gonna love this, brother.
Yeah, I'm not killing.
So Matt, he's gonna be going through a bunch of images. Okay, so evolutionists, you know what they say? Oh, man and dinosaurs. It's nice to see you guys now. I've been screen shared for an hour. At times I'm like, I hope they're still here. So anyways, they'll say dinosaurs and man did not coexist, right? But you're going to see that all throughout history, ancient cultures have actually drawn dinosaurs in ancient art. Explorers like Alexander the Great, Marco Polo, even in the book of Daniel, I think, as you know, Sam, it describes a dragon.
Bell and the Dragon.
That's right, brother. And so in the Bible, obviously, Behemoth, Leviathan, you got it, Sam. So maybe we can run through that later when we're done this. And so you're going to see Alexander the Great, Marco Polo, Herodotus. They all describe these dragons, these serpents. They describe pterosaurs. You're going to see pictures of stegosaurs. It's incredible, which means obviously we existed with them if we're drawing them and describing them. So anyways, that helps to set the foundation. Matt, take it away. I'm excited.
Again, let me remind you guys, they're only touching a 10th of the evidence. Go to their YouTube channels. I told you that last time. It's linked, subscribe, watch. This is a 10th of the evidence. This is blowing you away. Go watch their lectures and seminars that are hundreds of hours in their debates and pass it on to your children.
Yeah, we love these topics. We amass and collect information and study and share it with people and try to make it entertaining at the same time. And like Donnie was saying, the evidence of dinosaur and man is all over the place. But they've never really considered, like, what would it look like? So we're going to start with the weakest evidence and then move our way into the best and strongest. The weakest would always be what somebody says is they saw, an eyewitness of something. So we're going to start with those anyway, because that's still evidence regardless. So the first one we're going to go to was a single survivor that was told to draw a picture of what killed all of his friends. And he drew this, like a Loch Ness type monster. Another one was a 60-foot sea monster seen by Captain Peter and his crew in 1846. They drew another long neck looking type of a dinosaur creature.
Real quick, you put 1848 on your slide. You said 1840. You said 1846, but on the picture it said 1848.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. My bad.
He's excited.
Yeah.
That tells you I'm listening, even though my eyes look like they're shutting. I'm listening.
You can fall asleep. It's all right. I got a while to go. Here, the observers were two experienced British naturalists that saw what looks to be another long neck type of a sea aquatic serpent, another Loch Ness monster type of a creature. Very strange how they independently keep coming up with this same design of a type of a creature. Here's a Viking woodcutting of a dragon swallowing a man in the 11th century. And I have the quotes if you guys want to look up any of these at the bottom. This is a Palestinian mural painted 100 BC. It's very large, but if you start to zoom in, you'll notice something. It gets a little bit more clear, and then you zoom all the way in, and you'll notice men fighting against a dinosaur type of a creature. They got shields, and they're going after it. Very interesting. Right in a gigantic mural for everyone to see. And inside of it are real animals everywhere else. So that makes you think, like, okay, did they mythologically put in some weird type of creature for no reason at all? But then we can get to ancient cave art and drawings. Here's one in Argentina. This was found in a cave called the Cave of the Hands. And this looks like some type of a dinosaur creature with a ridge going down of its back. And this was very similar to Alexander the Great in 330 BC. Alexander the Great invaded India. He brought back reports of a giant hissing dragon living in a cave that the people were worshiping as a god. The source for that is down here. We also have, that one doesn't, kind of tiny, my bad. Another mural we can see, I'll zoom in. It's in Israel, And it shows, again, people throwing rocks and using spears to fight some kind of giant lizard. Obviously some type of dinosaur creature, because nothing like that is alive today, except for a Komodo dragon, and there's nothing like that in Israel. Then we have another one from Teotihuacan. I think it's the pre-Columbian era. They showed these two clearly looking dinosaur creatures. Another zoomed in image of them. I mean, if they're not dinosaurs, they're horrible at making art with dogs. But when we go to their art on the wall, we see another dinosaur head that literally is much more clear than what they could design in a 3D stone. So obviously, I mean, does that look like a dog too, or a cat? I don't think so. That's pretty dinosaur-like, if you ask me. Then we have brass engravings going back to 1496. Two brontosauruses, their heads are intertwining, or its head is going around the tail of the other one. Can't really tell. It's kind of faded, obviously hundreds of years old. Then we have the figurines that have been found with people riding a dinosaur, which is awesome. Dinosaurs all over the place. They have very large replicas, gigantic tails going back. This one's, dinosaurs are huge. Very strange. They date back to the 1600s. We have one that goes back 4,000 years ago, almost to the oldest ancient Chinese dynasty, drawing or creating an image. Clearly looks like a triceratops. Very peculiar why anybody would make that thing up. And then it just so happens to look like an actual dinosaur later. Same thing with this, another Han Dynasty theropod dinosaur creature. People will just say, well, it was just a dragon, but that's what we're saying. Dragons were dinosaurs. So another one going back maybe 1,000 years or so, Zhao Dynasty. Clearly another dinosaur-looking creature. Can't think of anything else that would possibly be in the world alive today that they had and they saw. And then here's a very vivid description from Marco Polo. Here we found snakes and huge serpents, 10 paces in length and 10 spans in girth, 30 feet long, 100 inches in circumference. At the forepart, or near the head, the front part, it's two limbs. They have two short legs, having 3 claws like those of a tiger, with eyes larger than any 4-penny loaf and very glaring. The jaws are wide enough to swallow a man. The teeth are sharp. I gave that description to AI and said, what is this match? What is this description that he's describing? It said it best matches a large theropod dinosaur, an Allosaurus and the related species. So I typed that in. What's an Allosaurus look like? This is what was pulling the cart, apparently. So very strange that he would depict such a dinosaur pulling his cart in ancient days. Literally, dinosaurs alive, just written and described in a very vivid account. Here's another cave drawing somebody found. This one showing the ridges going down the back. When tied up to what creature that could possibly be, again, they narrowed it down to being a dinosaur. Another description we see, not really a dragon, but it's okay. Another version of one. Here's another picture of a dragon that was outside of a castle in London. We have a 4-tusked elephant known as, I don't know how you're going to try to pronounce that. I'm going to butcher that one. This was found in 1837, where they found fossils of this creature in the area that were radiometrically dated for the creatures that lived supposedly 1.6 million years ago. And yet humans saw these because they are depicted in an Indian Vedic text. And they said that they guarded a tower in India. So they were something that people literally saw and described and had evidence for. I like that. Another interesting thing is not much talked about because it was written off as a hoax. So we're going to talk about that because this is very interesting. These are called the Ica stones, ICA. The Ica stones depicted dinosaurs with man and very strange things. And when you type in and you try to figure out how many of these stones were there, in a museum they found between 50 to 100,000 of these. Okay, now remember that because that's really important. And they're on andesite, a very hard stone with a Mohs scale of about 7. very, very hard stone, and there's a lot of them. Here's a picture of the museum that has thousands of them still to this day. Just images all over all of these large stones. And these, sorry, some are small, I don't know why, but these stones are everywhere. They were being sold by a particular man, and I wanted to find out what is the detail about this. So here, get this. So the famous collection belonged to Dr. Xavier, and it numbered around 20,000. He had that many stones in his lifetime. The total number circulating today is estimated much higher, particularly up to 100,000. The origin of them is a hoax. The modern Inca stones were largely popularized by a farmer, a single person who sold thousands of them to this person and others, by the way. He said later that he admitted to carving the stones himself using a hacksaw blade to produce the engravings. He claimed he did this so he would not go to jail for illegally excavating tombs, and because it was an easy way to make money. So let me get this straight. This old farmer quit farming and secretly made 100,000 stones to sell them to people. And then the police came over to him and said, "Hey, you can't be selling these stones. These are you're stealing these from tombs over here in areas." He said, No, I'm not stealing anything. I'm making them myself." That's all he had to say. That's it. So get out of here. This old man, the secret. When did he have time to do this? Between farming and selling them? I mean, they're on a extremely hard stone that you're not really going to cut any. I cut stone. My friend Jake cuts stone for a living. That's like literally all he does. And we cut granite, and we need diamond tip saws, and you're not making one of those in a day. So how does he make 100,000 of them? It's just such a preposterous thing. And then when we look at the stones, it has major detail, and they match what we've seen with dinosaur skin. What are the odds of that? Come on, think of the statistical probability that this old farmer is just making these things out of a hobby, out of his pastime, and drawing things that we actually found to be true. I mean, come on. And he shows dinosaurs all over, all different kinds of dinosaurs, and they have skin with these unique marks on them. Why would he spend the time? I mean, do you think that they're going to pay more because there's little circles on the dinosaur? It's stupid. No, you would just be vague. You'd paint one with one dinosaur on it and sell it. My family owns an art business, and they don't make more work for themselves for no reason. It's just absurd. So that's those. Now we're getting into it. So now the fun one. Now we have art, drawings, ancient carvings, the oldest you can get with mankind. This is before handwriting. Remember, they just went over the walls and started drawing what they saw. And here's some dinosaurs. Clearly, what's that supposed to be? A camel? Come on. This is, what else could it be, right? So I'm gonna be showing you art that shows clear dinosaurs, and then what the atheist and secular community says about these types of things. Because some of them are actually even in books. They wrote and documented these things. There's a dinosaur petroglyph in Arizona, and here's what they wrote about it in this book. In 1924, the fact that some prehistoric man made a petroglyph of a dinosaur on the wall of this crayon upside down completely, upsets completely all of our theories regarding the antiquity of man. Facts are stubborn and immutable things. If theories do not square with the facts, then the theories must change. The facts remain. Interesting. And look at what they said, though. About a year ago, a petroglyph of a dinosaur was shown to a scientist of national repute who was then specializing in dinosaurs. He said, "It is not a dinosaur. It's impossible, because we know dinosaurs went extinct 12 million years before man appeared." 12 million? What? I thought it was 65 million. So look at how the dates have changed that drastically in time. Here, this person goes, "This can't be a dinosaur. Man never saw a dinosaur. They went extinct 12 million years ago." What idiots. While making an idiot of himself by saying 12 million years ago. Because today he would be laughed at for how recent that dinosaur was. So see their reasoning? It can't be, because our theory says that they didn't live then. It's the paradigm driving your mindset. It's like, well, it can't be true because my model doesn't say that it is true. So we find dinosaurs in ancient artwork in different places all around the world, seemingly drawing the same consistent theme. Here's one of my favorites because the argument against it is hilarious. This is a drawing of a dinosaur. It's very hard to see, but don't worry, the next picture is going to be outlined. You can see it kind of. This is picked into a stone wall with an animal antler. Now, this is the outline of the dinosaur, clearly a brontosaurus. The atheists did not like this whatsoever. They did a whole study on it, and they published this about how it is not a dinosaur at all. They said, what is it? Well, the legs are not part of the image and are not pecked in, otherwise human-made, but are stains of mud or some light-colored material on the irregular surface. What did they do? Well, he stood there and he looked at it from a distance because it's very high and out of the way. So this was his scientific investigation. Don't even get near the thing. Just look at it and go, yup, looks fake to me. Let's go write up a study, guys. I got this. So the alleged sauropod petroglyph is a mere mud stain. The dinosaurs are illusions produced by, what is this? I don't know. Okay, look at that head.
Peridulia, Greek words, man. Whatever it is, I don't even speak English. Peridulia, mister.
Peridulia, there you go. So look at this image. They said this is it. The head is just a squiggly round circle, and the body connects randomly, and then there's just mud stains underneath it. Well, let's see if that's true. Because somebody decided, I'm going to go there, and I'm literally going to put up a ladder, and I'm going to take a crayon and just roll over it and see if it's pegged into the wall or if it's a stain against the stone. Uh-oh. It was a clear dinosaur with eyes and a mouth when you zoom in. Not the mud stain nonsense that they were talking about. And they even wrote it through an actual figure. The dinosaur-like xenomorphic petroglyph on the bridge is comparable to that of any other clearly Ashkenazi petroglyph. So they drew the same things other places, and it's similar to their type of art. So it's meaning they did this, they made that. And what they did is they took like an antler, they would hold it against a stone and they would hit it with a rock, and until that would peck into that and leave holes. So kind of like when you're a kid and you want to like put something under a piece of paper and like a quarter, and then take a pencil and go over it, it'll show the mark of the quarter on the piece of paper. Same concept that was done here. But here's the kicker. There's two dinosaurs. Uh-oh, I guess he couldn't see that when he was looking up in the bright sunlight. So there were two dinosaurs. They both have legs on them, and they're fighting one another. It seems like the tails going through the neck of the other one, and that thing, that squiggly line right here that they said, oh, that's just a squiggle. It's not even a head. You can actually see, if you look, the squiggle's above the head. Here's the head. Here's the squiggly line. He didn't even get that right. So you talk about a laughable rescue device. I mean, it's stupid. Like, anybody with brains and common sense would be like, that is dying. Were you paid to do this? I would think so. Here's another brontosaurus that somebody drew. Obviously, it's kind of faded over time, probably hundreds or 1,000 years of time. But you can still see clearly a brontosaurus. I don't know what these ancient people are looking at. If it's not a brontosaurus, I would love to know. Is that a bird? Is that a cat? Can they just not draw? Are they like high on ayahuasca or what? Like, what's happening here? Why are they drawing dinosaurs? Are they just getting lucky or what? Beyond me. People say, well, so what? Dinosaurs went extinct. Maybe some could have lived through, or that's fine. They're just gone now. Maybe man's older than we think they are. Maybe man goes back hundreds of thousands or millions of years. That's the kicker. Well, that's another problem, because guess what? We have seen, as somebody has seen, a living theropod that it goes before dinosaurs existed. Now get this. This is where it gets crazy. Somebody saw a creature that looked like this walking around. These existed before dinosaurs, according to the secular concept. And here it is. The cave art discovery depicts an animal that went extinct 280 million years ago, baffling scientists. What was this? These were a type of theropods. These are like non-reptilian. They're kind of like a mix between reptiles and mammals. It's a very thing that they said, these were predecessors. So they dinosaurs. They came before all of these other clades did. So the interesting thing, when they went there, they found art depicting one, and they found evidence that they lived in the area. They found a fossil foot. They found like part of the body, and then something interesting came out just recently, by the way, after they found this art, is that the skin, by the way, they found one that was mummified, was actually reddish and brown in color. Wait, is that what they drew on the wall? It is. So they actually got the color correct too. Interesting. One of the few dinosaurs that we actually know the color of their skin, and it was the exact pigment and color that they drew on the wall. And they did a whole study determining what the pattern looked like and the color in the study itself. And this is what the AI rendered as the final verdict of what that creature looked like. And here's what they drew on their wall. 280 million years ago, everyone, before dinosaurs lived, humans saw it walking around and drew it on their wall. And where did they find these creatures, by the way, that was mummified? Right out here. Interesting, huh? This is America, by the way. This is California. This is like Florida down here. So back when there was a flood, they found it under an area where that was flooded with water. That's right, they sure did. So when the continent of the United States was submerged underwater, this is a secular picture I found online, this creature was found right there. And it was found only around mosasaurs. Those are aquatic dinosaurs. Why would a land creature be found with aquatic life and be mummified right alongside of it? Could it be a flood? I don't know. Peculiar how much is preserved. Look, you can see the heart tissue. You can see what it ate. What could preserve something so well? I guess we'll never know, huh? So, let's go down. What do we have? When we look at a fossil record, shouldn't we find hundreds of millions of years of dinosaurs actually living there? Or would we actually find and expect to find very few? Because there's only about a couple thousand years before there was Noah's flood anyway. Not a lot would be preserved, right? So the dinosaur fossil gap paradox, the idea that fossil records of dinosaurs is incomplete, and the missing fossils may hold clues to the evolution of dinosaurs. So guess what? They said there were as many as 2.5 billion Tyrannosaurus rexes that once walked on Earth. Where are they? We just don't know. The only amount we found is 0.00001%. Interesting. Out of those 0.00001%, how many are complete? This is all that we've ever found. We've only found a couple that are complete dinosaurs, meaning when the flood crushed them, it disarticulated, threw their bones everywhere. It messed them up. But the ones that we found that are complete, guess what? They're found in a drowning position, trying to fight to breathe air. It's called the dinosaur death pose. Look it up. The dinosaur death pose shows that they're gasping for air in the last moments of their lives. And that is how they died. That is their last moments. And when they were running for their lives, they were running over rock that was not hard yet. And you could see their footprints going through solid stone today as it became solid. So you can see them running for their lives up through the rock layers that later became hardened and are now pressing through millions of years of geologic time. It's only getting worse. So this fossil gap paradox, we can solve this because it's easy. If they were literally 2.5 billion Tyrannosaurus rex, they would probably leave evidence that they existed, wouldn't they? But no, they did not. It's solved because only a couple thousand years has passed. And how do we know? Because we find soft tissue inside of them. And guess what? Usually, most of the original bone is still present in the dinosaur fossil. They admit this. By the way, secular. Again, no young Earth creation stuff here. So what do we have? We have the New Evidence Museum based on physical evidence for evolution. It's completely empty, as you can see. Because there is no good evidence for evolution. It's complete nonsense. This stuff is going to be crazy. Instead of finding the slow and smooth progressive changes that Lyell and Darwin had expected, they saw in the fossil record rapid bursts of change, new species seemingly out of nowhere and then remaining unchanged for millions of years. Here's another one. Did you know that dinosaurs that have plates on their back, that they're found, 70% of them are found upside down? Well, you ever think about that? Why would that be the case? You put a dinosaur with a metal plate basically on its back in water. What's going to happen? He's going to flip over. He's not meant to be swimming in water. He's going to flip over and he's going to drown. He's going to sink to the bottom and he's going to be buried. That's how we find most of them. 70% are found upside down. You know what the secular community said about this? They said, well, no, maybe when they died, they just laid there in the sun and their bellies got real fat from bloat. And then they exploded and it rolled them over. And that's how they died. And then they slowly got buried, slowly over millions of years. Bones laying outside are not going to turn into fossils, people. If your dog dies, those bones aren't going to become fossilized. So you can't just say it flipped over from bloat and then died and turned into a fossil. That's nonsense. Scavengers are going to eat it. The bones are going to go everywhere. It's going to be a mess. You're not going to just find it sitting upside down. It's just absolute bizarro nonsense craziness. So here's what the flood looked like on a time lapse. The land slowly got immersed over the first 3 to 4 months of the flood. It wasn't just one wave that came and took everything out. It was a slow progression over time. And that made creatures run to higher ground. And then after everything was flooded, the water started to recede for the last 4 months. That's how animals got off the ark and had food to eat. That's how the dove brought the olive branch back. It had months of time to grow. So people were like, well, what the animals eat each other when they got off the ark? It's like, no, the water didn't just instantly flood the earth in one day and then instantly recede in one day. There was a process where the earth was only flooded for about 4 months. That was the duration of the world underwater. The rest of the time it was being flooded or receding from the flood. So, we get into some crazy one now. This is called the phosphate beds of South Carolina. This is interesting because in it, they found the remains of the hog, the horse, and other modern animals of recent date, together with human bones mingled in with bones of the mastodon and extinct gigantic lizards. Huh, gigantic lizards, do you say? Do you mean to say dinosaurs? I think you do. The book he actually published, Sir Francis Holmes, is that he put himself on the cover of his book with a dinosaur, a hadrosaur dinosaur to be exact, because he found a hadrosaur dinosaur next to human remains. And this is the phosphate level layer right here. Below it are just sands. There's not many layers here, people. There's only a few. And inside of his book, we can see this is a post-Pliocene age. It's around 11,000 years to a maximum of about 34,000 years, okay? What did they find within that? Well, there were about 200 feet long creatures that were aquatic. That's pretty weird, right? That's pretty big. Not much we have today with that. So this graveyard existed. Oh, sorry, here we go. Here's another publication that came from that exact same thing. How Shall We Escape? Ranging from the common periwinkle to the mammoth and mastodon and megatherium. And the mystery of man's longevity clears as we find his bones among the number. Interesting. So another book was written on his discoveries. It's called Man, Dinosaur, and Mammals Together. And in the book, you can see that this was all around an 11,700 year time period, that all of these things are mixed together. And if you look in here, this is classified of land mammals. We can see elephants, deer, horses, monkeys, camels, elk, a porpoise, dolphins. So aquatic life mixed with land life and ancient life. And then reptilian, we have the hadrosaur, Ichthyosaurus, crocodiles, alligators, turtles. Look, humans, jawbones, oysters. Look at that. Everything kind of mixed together. But here's what we're getting at. Here's the most important thing. We're finding deep aquatic sea life with modern day life, land life, all together. And radiometric dating that was done on this area dated it around 26 million years ago. But wait a second. What's going on? How do we have modern life and ancient life all mixed together? Because none of those, that age doesn't match anything. It doesn't match the dinosaurs, and it doesn't match recent times either. So what's going on? It tells you that the fossil record, the fossils can be moved around, and they're testing the rocks next to the fossils to tell you how the fossils are. Isn't that foolish? Imagine if I had an aquarium behind me with fish, and I took rocks from outside the garden, I threw them in there, and then I had a bunch of fish, and I put them in my aquarium, and I just let them die. Forget about them. I don't care. And then the scientists want to come over and say, I will, when were those fish in the tank? I'm like, you figure it out. So they take all the rocks out and go test them. Think about it. So what do we see? We see fossils dating old ages, but the same fossils are in young age deposits. Old age fossils, young age deposits. Huge problem. I say that we can answer this much better, and we can destroy the fossil record next, because remember, Darwin predicted slow Darwinian gradualism in the fossil record. Here's exactly how he portrayed it. As a state of orderly process working at a speed so slow that no person could hope to observe it in their lifetime. Infinitely numerous transitional forms, the finest of gradual steps. What did we find? Well, we find fossil tracks before we ever find the creature that left them in the fossil record. That's the theme. Why would we find that if evolution was true? You wouldn't. You would find them at the same time, because there's obviously the creature that lives them isn't living hundreds of thousands or millions of years later. You're finding the tracks before you find the creature because they were running for their lives in almost every scenario. You find the same thing with fossilized trackways of trilobites, where they move through different geological eras of time before they're submerged and they finally die in the mud. They were running for their lives. Unless you want to tell me that they lived for millions of years. I don't know, trilobites aren't alive, but I'm going to assume that's not true, because that seems illogical. We also have the temporal paradox, where we find the parent of the supposed species that they evolved from living before them. That's what we find with the supposed Archaeopteryx, the one that dinosaurs evolved into. Oh, it actually is found, their feathers are found before dinosaurs even existed. Whoops. Can't really invoke that one anymore. Then we have zombie taxons. These are a fossil that is from a younger geological period than its organisms that actually, the actual extinction date. And what it actually looks like is this. Remember, this is what it was supposed to look like, with no problems, because millions of years have passed before species had it. We have disharmonious associations. That's when an ice age type of a species.
Alrighty, chat. So, I'm about to go ahead and get off. Think I maybe on later on. It's still kind of early, but yeah, that's it for stream for right now.